The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate. I'm Tim Calloway. We have a very special guest for you today that's, I think, really going to hit us with a lot of knowledge. Brett Swarts with Capital Gains Tax Solutions, where he's going to talk about Deferred Sales Trust and kind of help us out with some of those 1031 exchange issues some of us have been having. How are you, Brett?
Timothy, I'm better than I deserve. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, no worries. I'm really excited. So before we get into the devil of the details, right? Tell me how you got started. Tell me how you got to this point. Not an everyday realtor, obviously, and not an everyday, just something different. Tell us how you got started.
Yeah, so I started out in real estate at a very young age with my parents building houses in Silicon Valley, the East Bay of California, learned the sticks and bricks, learned the construction side of the business and how to work really hard and see a project through to completion. Then I went and studied and practiced multifamily investment brokerage at a company called Marcus & Millichap, where I had some of the best training from some amazing people. Learned about 1031 exchanges, learned about investing in real estate, value add, cap rates, IRRs, cash on cash returns, brokering, negotiating deals, really, really cool stuff. But it wasn't always this easy, Timothy, because I came in at a time, it was 2006. Things were pretty hot and going pretty quick. But then they quickly hit the wall in 2008. And so we went from making like a little bit of money to like nothing overnight. And as a real estate agent, commercial real estate agent at the time, it was tough because I was newly married, baby on the way. And I went from having a lot of success in, let's say, college and academics and scholarships and all that stuff to like nothing. And it felt like a failure. It was really tough. So you did whatever good, I think, real estate agent or wannabe does. You get a side hustle. My side hustle was Cheesecake Factory. So I worked nights and weekends, 70-hour weeks. I would wear the same tie at Marcus & Millichap. I'd wear the same one to Cheesecake Factory. And sometimes I'd be hiding from potential clients in the other room that were, eating at the restaurant. And I was trying to list a $3 million building. I'm like, oh my goodness, if they see me, I'm never going to get the deal. And it was really an embarrassing time for me in a sense, although I'm grateful for it now. But I was really like, it was humbling for sure, right? I was like, gosh, how am I not making the business? It was really hard. And it was about that time period. My clients were also going through a struggle. I was maybe barely making it, but they were losing millions because they had done what's called the 1031 exchange. They had overpaid for properties. They had too much debt, not enough liquidity, not enough diversification. And that's when I learned about the Deferred Sales Trust, which we're going to talk about, which is really the solution for what a lot of people are looking for these days, right? Which is really it's an anti-1031 in a lot of ways. And it gives people the real thing, what they're looking for. It's some real freedom and transformation with their wealth plan. So fast forward, I was able to retire from the Cheesecake Factory. My wife and I have 5 kids now. She's been able to stay home full time with our children. And now I just coach and train and help close deals for clients and work with agents across the country, CPAs, all of that.
Wow, that's fantastic. Hey, I got to tell you, Brett, you and I have way more in common than I thought. Just this show is not about me. It's 100% about you. But after things fell apart in 2008, I was back behind the bar, at night and, hey, I got to flip shirts and, at the Red Lobster. It was like, it doesn't matter, right? You got to do what you got to do and get that hustle back in there. So who is your target market? I mean, a lot of my audience is going to understand a lot of what you're having to say, and a lot of my audience is going to go, who? So who is that target market? What's that avatar look like?
Yeah. So it's a millionaire, they already have either multi-millions or at least $1 million, or more, but they're selling an asset that's worth at least $1 million of gain and has at least $1 million net proceeds, right? So we really focus on that capital gain tax, right? That's going to happen due to a highly appreciated asset. And it could be cryptocurrency, could be business, could be investment real estate, could be a primary home, could be artwork, collectibles, NFTs, really anything that's highly appreciated and has a lot of tax. And you're looking to sell, you're not looking to necessarily spend it all on just, your personal stuff. You're looking to invest it back into real estate, or maybe some into the stock market, or maybe some into lending or development project. In fact, you're looking to create more wealth with the money, but you want to do it in a tax deferred manner. And or the ultra high net worth people who have estate tax challenges, we're going to eliminate that estate tax without any giving away to charity, without having to buy a bunch of life insurance, and without having to have 50 kids to try to gift it away to. We can do that with the Deferred Sales Trust.
So that sounds awesome. I mean, I got to tell you, just having worked with people like that over my career, not necessarily today or yesterday, but having worked with people like that in my career, much needed, right? Give me, the bullet points, or a Cliff Notes version of how that happens, and what's the process of it, without going into great detail, of course.
Yeah, we'll just use an analogy. It's kind of like a 1031 exchange. What do you do, Timothy, in that? And that you sell, and the funds go to a third-party qualified intermediary, and the funds are held there in a deferral state until what? Until you redeploy it into another piece of real estate. Well, think of the Deferred Sales Trust and our company, Capital Gains Tax Solutions, like that qualified intermediary. But instead of the funds going to a QI company where you're not making any interest on the money, the funds go to this Capital Gains Tax Solutions Deferred Sales Trust account. And now you're earning interest, it's building and it's earning and it's owed back to you. And so we use what's called an installment sale method, known as a seller carryback. Instead of selling an asset and maintaining ownership into another asset, you're selling an asset and you're exchanging it for a promissory note. In other words, you're becoming the bank. You've lent these funds to the trust and it owes you the money. So I'll give you an example. We just did a $4.2 million deal in Denver, Colorado. And that particular sale for a client of mine named Ron and his wife, and you can see this entire story on YouTube. He was an Airbnb property and they're making all kinds of money. And they're like, this is great, Brett. But he's like, it's about a year ago. And he's like, I just feel like the market might shift a little bit. It's a good time to sell. And I'm just spending a lot of time with this Airbnb. Let's just sell it at the height here. So they sold it, deferred all the tax, okay, and exchanged for a promissory note. They became the lender. That's great. So they had a buyer lined up. They were the seller, and the trust jumps in right in between the close, and that's how this whole thing works.
Wow. I guess, being on podcasts and things like that, are you building a network of, and I'm thinking investment advisors and or CPAs, things of that nature. How are you going about finding ultra millionaire who has these properties? And I know there's a lot of them around, but how are you going about finding them?
So we create a lot of content and a lot of education. So one of our values is making this very simple. Deferred Sales Trust made simple. Like this thing can be a bit complex, especially if you're in your last 20 days before you sell. It's and we just did a $10 million business sale. Gentleman met us 30 days ago, and this is his number one. This is his retirement. This is his legacy. He's been working for 25 years. And he's finding us for the first time, right? And he's like, wow, can this really work? And his CPAs hadn't heard of it. And so we're really there to try to deliver at the last minute for people, right? And to try to make it as simple and as digestible in this short period of time. And when we do that, we create content online, videos, we do podcasts, we speak at events, we do live events, we do online events. And then we also really just shout out to anyone who's listening, the top 5% of business professionals, CPAs, financial advisors, commercial real estate operators, luxury realtors, commercial real estate brokers, business brokers. If you're helping your clients, guess what? We want to help you help your clients, because their number one thing of why they're not selling, we have found, is either capital gains tax or estate tax. So if you can solve the biggest challenge, they list and sell the property. It lists the asset, right? And then you can, we work with financial advisors where they can manage the capital. The funds can go into stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. They can also go back into real estate. We work with entrepreneurs who are wanting to go back into their own deals. And so as we just solve problems and share stories, we have a book coming out with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. He'll be in the book, right? Stuff like that. Called Building a Tax for Exit Strategy. People just, listen and they give us referrals, and then we just do more business.
Well, that's fantastic. Is there a limit, any kind of monetary limit or net worth, or any kind of limit whatsoever that would preclude anyone from this program?
Yeah, you need $1 million net proceeds and $1 million gain, right? That's how you qualify per transaction. You could have two at 500 each, and you can combine them, but we just want to make sure there's enough gain. That means there's enough tax to defer, and to offset, and pay for, make the trust make sense on a scales wise with the fees.
Right. And there's no limitation on, what you can do with the proceeds, right? And you were talking about you can reinvest in real estate, you can invest in the stock market or anything else, right?
Yeah, as long as it's investing in its business purpose, there's no limitations. We do need to keep some liquidity and some diversification. We got to be prudent with the investments, right? But there's definitely lots of flexibility for entrepreneurs with how we do that.
There's probably a larger market than I think most luxury realtors, and which is a larger part of our audience that I talk with, that probably have nothing. What's a way to get the word out? Like when I'm talking in my local area, when I'm talking about, do I just push them to you, push them to your site, or is there, kind of a colloquial, easy way to explain this, when I'm talking with realtors in my area?
It's a good question. So one, make sure you're targeting those that are already helping people sell $5 or $10 or $20 million
Right.
homes, right? Or selling $5 or $10 or $20 million commercial real estate assets or businesses.
Right.
So there are people that are already helping the people, and those people are typically really, really busy.
Right.
And so the question is, how do we get their attention because they're busy doing all the big deals, to help them slow down enough to say, oh, there's something that's different, and also help them understand that it's not going to hurt them. It's going to help them. Right. And sometimes the big M&A guy that we meet for the first time, the client brings us in, he thinks all of a sudden, oh no, we're going to bring like a wrench and then we're going to mess it up for him. And he's been working on this thing for 10 years. And we're like the guy coming in at the last 10% of the deal. Right. So the earlier, the better. And I would just say transformational deal stories, because those are at the top of what they do. Like we just did a $29 million deal in Austin, Texas, a $48 million deal in Vegas, a $13 million in San Diego, a $5 million Bitcoin case out of San Jose. That was done a year and a half ago, by the way. They got out at the right time.
Right.
And so we just keep sharing these stories over and over and over again. $4 million deal in Colorado, $2.5 million in Arizona. And as people see that and hear that and understand that, they go, oh, wow, if all of these people are doing it, maybe I should do it too.
Sure. It's interesting, Brett, you and I at the very top of the call, I kind of gave you, my listeners know my background, that I worked in REITs at Bear Stearns, God rest their soul. But at Bear Stearns, and had packaged those things and dealt with things of this nature. And I thought I knew what you were talking about, right? And there's probably quite a bit of that out there. So, it is pertinent and important that people know specifically this is not the Delaware, what you were talking about before. This is a different product. It is a different way of doing things.
Let's touch on that real fast. So the Delaware Statutory Trust is also known as a DST, is not a deferred sales trust, what we've been talking about here the last few minutes.
Right.
Delaware, a better way to think about it is just another form of a 1031 exchange. It's just packaged in a way where you're giving up all control, all liquidity, all diversification, huge fees, is how much is 15%. And how do you know all this, Brett? Well, I've done Delaware's, and we'll still do Delaware's. They have their place. They have amazing operators, Class A locations, particularly turnkey properties. But they're not for everybody. First of all, they're in the 1031 family. And I call this the Blockbuster family, Timothy, right? Remember going to Blockbuster on a Friday night?
Yeah.
Trying to get that movie. You got to return it in 3 days. All these little restrictions, right? That's Blockbuster. That's 1031. That's Delaware 1031.
Okay.
Deferred sales trust is like Netflix, super flexible. You can be entrepreneurial. You can be liquid. You can be illiquid. You can be passive. You can be active, right? It solves a lot of things that the 1031 cannot. Now, here's a cool thing too. We're a backup plan for a failed 1031 as well.
Okay.
In fact, we work on a conditional basis as well. We'll say, hey, go for your 1031. If it works out, high five. You're one of the few that made sense of these cap rates and these interest rates going higher. We're happy for you. But if it fails, guess what? We're with that backup plan. Here's the key. You got to make sure you're working with us to work with our qualified intermediary to make sure that they, A, know what they're doing, and B, they'll allow it. Because here's the secret, Timothy. Most commercial real estate brokers and 1031 companies, they don't want you to know about this thing. They want to keep you in the 1031 loop because that's where all the commissions are. And by the way, I'm a broker myself. I'm a multifamily broker. I do 1031s. So I'm saying this from experience, okay? I've sold over $400 million in deferred sales trust transactions and commercial real estate transactions. So that's why I'm saying it. But guess what? That's okay if it makes sense for what you're trying to achieve. Just know what your options are. Know that you can maybe do an opportunity zone. You can do a cost seg deal. You can do a 1031 exchange. You can do a deferred sales trust. You can do a Delaware statutory trust. And that's part of what we try to do here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions with an S, plural, because there's multiple ways to do it. The question is, what is best for you and what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, that's, Brett, I appreciate your transparency on that, because it is important to know, just know your options. Both work and they're different for everybody, and it could be a better option. Is it best if I'm referring someone, let's say I'm a luxury realtor, or financial advisor, is it best I send someone directly for the consultation, or, maybe do I actually come in and join the mastermind? I know you offer a mastermind class. What's the best route if I want to be a referrer of your business? And, I don't mean to sound greedy, but is there anything in it for me?
First of all, if you're just listening, you want to get connected with us, you go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And then we have our YouTube channel where you can learn and watch, 500 videos on this. So you can really dive in and understand it. You can check out our new book. As far as like referral partners and affiliates, yeah, we
Right.
do work with those who have direct relationships to clients, right? So, this is a more complex, we work 100% conditional basis. We only get paid if we close it. It's very, kind of like Navy SEAL specialized. It's not like a commodity with some things that are out there. So we found that, yeah, we do pay, but it has to be like a direct referral, like a direct client or a direct relationship where you've had some kind of relationship, and so where it's not just a name and a
Call
number.
this guy. Yeah.
It's not just a name and a number where they don't know you from anything. Right. And it's just,
Right.
and they're just showing up. So that's the way we pay. And in that scenario, you can get with us offline to talk about what that looks like.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. I think that's great. But you're right. The guy selling a $50 million property down the street, just because I know it's for sale doesn't mean I can give you his number and get paid on it. But no, I think that's great.
Now, if you call the guy and you build some rapport and you close him for a meeting and you get him to show up to a meeting, and now you're a part of the deal and you're helping it to move forward and you've brought your level of expertise, we're more than happy to pay. Right. But it's not something where a name and a number and the guy's like, I don't even know how I found you. Right.
Sure.
It's like,
No, but I think it's great that you have a program set up like that, because I think that's how you build that network even larger for yourself.
Yeah.
I know in my area, every property seems like now, because I can't live anywhere nice anymore, is $20 million to $50 million. So I'm living on the wrong side of the tracks. But anyhow, you have mentioned how to get in touch with you, capitalgainstaxsolutions.com with an S. And then did you really say you have 500 videos?
I think something like that now. Now, some of these are snippets, right? So, some of them are just long form, and a lot of them I've been on other people's podcasts like this, and then we record it and we take little snippets. Awesome. And so, something like that.
Yeah, awesome. I was going to say that is a lot of work, Brett. So, we're kind of winding down towards the end of the show. There's probably quite a bit still involved we could talk about. I'm going to kind of give you the last 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and just let loose on whatever's on your mind, heart, soul, about kind of what you're doing, or it could be about your family. Did you say you have 5 kids?
We do. Yeah. My wife and I have 5 children.
That's so awesome.
4 to 12 in that range. Yeah.
Congratulations, man. I always joke. I was just on, you were talking about the East Bay. I think you were talking about the East Bay a minute ago. And I was just on with a luxury team in the East Bay, and they have 4. And I always tell people, I have 4 sons. I've got a podcast, The Father of 4. It's a very popular podcast. Everybody wants to talk about having kids. And it's funny because you wouldn't think men were interested, but they really are. That's awesome. But go ahead and take us out. Tell us, anything we may have missed, or, anything that you really want to share, or if you want to talk about your 5 kids.
Yeah, I would just say, whatever you're trying to achieve, wherever you're trying to go, make sure the strategy and the team that you're hiring is going to help you to, do that thing. And hopefully that thing is transformational for you, right? And we're all looking for freedom on one level or another. It would be financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, entrepreneurial freedom, retirement freedom. And the question is, who's the team to help you get there? And what's the strategy or strategies to help you achieve what you're trying to achieve? So really clarify what's called clarifying your B. B is where you're trying to go. A is where you're at, right? And right now is a great time before 2023 hits to start to clarify, what are your big goals? What's your big vision, right? What mission are you on for 2023? And then where are you at right now? And what's the gap, right? And how are you going to get there? And the more you can clarify that B, what happens is, and as you have hopefully some big goals and some big aspirations, you can visualize that, you can write those things down, and it helps to pull you in that direction, right? So we can either live in two states, Timothy. And the first state is apprehension. And that's the state where we don't have clarity on our B, clarity on our values, clarity on where we're going. And we're kind of floating day to day. It's kind of like floating on the fire drill. And by the way, we all go through these every day. Like, I mean, every season of life, there's certain days where we're more organized and more focused. But then there's other days where if you clarified your B and your vision and your values, and you're reviewing those and you're thinking about it, and you're visualizing, you're praying about them, all the things that are going to help if you are a believer, pray about them, right? It's going to help you get pulled. It's actually going to attract and pull you in that direction. So I would highly encourage you to clarify your B right now. And as it pertains to building your wealth, get that team to help you provide those freedoms that you're looking for. Yeah. And as far as family, family is 100% work, man. It's 100% joy with the kids, especially when they're young. But it's the best type of work. It's the best type of gift. And I believe that when you have children, it's going to help you to mature quicker. It's going to help you to, clarify all the things that's important in life. And yeah, I love my kids, love my wife. She's my rock star. She's my queen. And I'm grateful to be able to be, parents to my kids. So that's cool that you have that other podcast. Sounds like a cool one to check out.
Yeah. Brett, thanks so much, man. That was wonderful. Great advice. Really hit the spot for sure. I look forward to catching up with you over the next 3, 6, 9 months, see how things are going. And I will be discussing bringing people your way. I think that's a big part of making this more well-known and advantage to those who can utilize it.
Yeah, we'll have. By the way, we'll have an office in Florida coming up here real soon. So, in fact,
look forward to that for sure.
Spending 51% of our time out there in Florida and 49% in California. We'll have offices on both sides, expanding the company. So hope to see you in Florida one of these days, Timothy.
Sounds awesome, Brett. Have a great week and have a great holiday.
You too. Thanks so much. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Bye. Happy New Year.